Angoulême, Occitan. Engoulaime or Engoleime is a French commune, the capital of the Charente department, in the Poitou-Charentes region of southwestern France. The inhabitants of the commune are known as Angoumoisins or Angoumoisines. Located on a plateau overlooking a meander of the Charente River, the city is nicknamed the Balcony of the Southwest. The city proper's population is a little less than 50,000, but it is the center of an urban area of 110,000 people extending more than 15 kilometers from east to west. Formerly the capital of Angoumois in the ancient regime, Angoulême was a fortified town for a long time and was highly coveted due to its position at the center of many roads important to communication, so therefore suffered many sieges. From its tumultuous past, the city, perched on a rocky spur, inherited a large historical, religious, and urban heritage which attracts a lot of tourists. Nowadays Angoulême is at the center of an agglomeration which is one of the most industrialized regions between Loire and Garonne. It is also a commercial and administrative city with its own University of Technology and a vibrant cultural life. This life is dominated by the famous Angoulême International Comics Festival that contributes substantially to the international renown of the city. The commune has been awarded 4 flowers by the National Council of Towns and Villages in Bloom in the competition of cities and villages in bloom. Geography. Angoulême is an acropolis city located on a hill overlooking a loop of the Charente, limited in area upstream by the confluence of the Touvre and downstream by the Angoumoisines and Occitan. Location and access. Angoulême is located at the intersection of a major north-south axis, the N10 Paris-Bayonne, and the east-west axis, the N14 route Central Europe-Atlantique-Limoges-Saintes. Angoulême is also connected to Périgueux and Saint-Jean-d'Angely by the D939 and to Libourne by the D674. By train. The Paris-Bordeaux line, served mainly by TGV, passes through Angoulême, and the Limoges-Saintes provides connections. By water. Although the river Charente is currently only used for tourism, it was a communication channel, especially for freight, until the 19th century, and the port of Limoux was very busy. The Angoulême-Cognac International Airport is at Brie-Champniers. District's Old Angoulême is the old part between the ramparts and the town centre, with winding streets and small squares. The city centre is also located on the plateau and was portrayed by Honoré de Balzac in The Lost Illusions as the height of grandeur and power. There is a castle, a town hall, a prefecture, and a cathedral with grand houses everywhere. Unlike old Angoulême, however, the entire city centre was greatly rebuilt in the 19th century. Surrounding the city were 5 old faubourgs: Limoux, Saint-Cybède, Saint-Martin, Saint-Ozone, and Le Bassat. The district of Limoux was described by Balzac as based on trade and money, because this district lived on trade, boatmen, and the scows. The port of Limoux was created in 1280 on the river bank. It marked the beginning of the navigable part from Angoulême to the sea. Saint-Cybède, on the bank of the Charente, was created around the Abbey of Saint-Cybède, then became an industrial area with paper mills, especially Lenil. Saint-Martin, Saint-Ozone is a district composed of 2 former parishes outside the ramparts. At Le Bassat, the Champ de Mars Esplanade is now converted into a shopping mall, and adjoins Saint-Gelais. Today the city has 15 districts: Centreville, Old Angoulême, Saint-Ozone, Saint-Martin, Saint-Gelais, Le Bassat, Champ de Mars, Limoux, Saint-Cybède, Victor Hugo. Saint-Roch is notable for its military presence. Basso is a district which was created in the 19th century with the port of Basso, the explosives factory in 1821, the La Roche-Joubert paper mill in 1842, then the bridge in 1850. Salac-le-Grand-et-Garonne was a private housing estate, then was built up with HLM units. Bel-Air-le-Grand-Font in the railway station district with housing blocks from the 1950s at Grand Font. La Madeleine, which was completely rebuilt after the bombings of 1944. Marcampagne is a district which was detached from Puy-Moyen commune in 1945 and built up as a collective habitat from 1972. Le Petit Fresquet was also detached from Puy-Moyen and is semi-rural. Fregenoy was also detached from Puy-Moyen and is semi-rural. Panorama of the city, neighboring communes and villages. Hydrography. The Port Lemieux. The old port on the Charente, located in the district of Lemieux, is in a flood zone, and during floods the Besson Bay Boulevard is usually cut. Geology. Geologically, the town belongs to the Aquitaine Basin, as does 3/4 of the western department of Charente. The commune is located on the same limestone from the Upper Cretaceous period, which occupies the southern half of the department of Charente, not far from Jurassic formations beginning at Gond-Pontouvre. The earliest Cretaceous period, the Cenomanian, is in the relatively low areas, at an average altitude of 50 meters. The city was established on the plateau that dominates the loop of the river Charente, a Turonian formation which forms a dissected plateau of parallel valleys and a cuesta facing north that extends towards Le Caron to the west, and Gara to the east. This limestone plateau contains natural cavities which have been refurbished by man in the form of 3 or 4 floors of caves, some of which include antique grain silos. The valley of the Charente is made up of old and new alluvium which provides rich soil for farming and some sand pits. These alluvial deposits were deposited successively during the Quaternary period on the inside of 2 meanders of the river, the Basso and Saint-Cybède. The oldest alluviums are on the plain of Basso and reach a relative height of 25 meters. Relief. The old part of the city is built on the plateau, a rocky outcrop created by the valleys of the Angoulême and Charente at an altitude of 102 meters, while on the riverbank the area subject to flooding is 27 meters high. Engoleime is characterized by the presence of ramparts on a cliff 80 meters high. The plateau of Marcampagne, south of the old town, has almost the same features and peaks at 109 meters in the woods of St. Martin. The plateau is elongated and separates the valleys of Auclaires, which is the southern boundary of the commune, from that of Angoulême, which is parallel. Both plateaux overlook the Charente Valley and the outlying areas such as Lemieux, Basso, and Salac at the western ends. The plateau of Engoleime is the northwest extension of the Soyer Plateau. Lemieux, the station area, and that of Grand Font are to the north of the plateau along the small Vimeo Valley, also a tributary of the Charente, but further north than Angoulême is to the south. The highest point of the city of Engoleime is at an altitude of 133 meters near Puysec, located to the southeast near the border with Puy-Moyen. The lowest point is 27 meters, located along the Charente at Basso. The ramparts. Since Roman times, ramparts have surrounded the plateau of Angoulême. Repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt, the reconstruction was finally stopped in the 19th century. The ramparts are classified as historical monuments, and the ramparts tour is one of the main attractions of the city. The ramparts of Angoulême. Climate. The climate is oceanic Aquitaine and similar to that of the city of Cognac, where the departmental weather station is located. Toponymy. Since antiquity the name of the town has been attested in many forms, Engoleime and Engoulême from the 4th century, Civitas Engolismensium around 400 AD, Engoleime, Engoleime and Angoumoisines in 511, Engoulême in the 6th century, Engoleime, Engoleime in the 10th century, Engoleime, Engoleime, and Engoleime. Engoleime at the end of the 12th century. The absence of any convincing explanation of the origin of the name of the city has led to several attempts to fit etymological explanations, unrelated to the well-documented old forms and phonetically unlikely. It came from Engoulamisme, meaning very safe and healthy, but there is no trace of and in the most ancient forms and no trace of a either. It was an alteration of Engolisme, meaning on the hill, but a toponym is never formed from the Latin preposition in. As for the French word colline, it was borrowed from the Italian collina at the time of the Renaissance. In addition, the suffix -isne was not used to produce derivations from a Latin words, and it is doubtful that it even exists. Finally, independent alterations of regular phonetic changes occur as a result of analogy, or more precisely of popular etymology. That is to say, analogy with other similar and frequent used names in the region, or an attempt to connect the toponym to a term that makes sense. It is clear that the old forms of Angoulême are mostly obscure. Some hypotheses have been advanced with a stronger basis. It is possible to recognize the suffix -isme in some of the oldest forms, which represents an evolution of the Gallic suffix -isama, which is found in the name of the Gallic divinity Belisama, and very common in toponymy and toponymic types such as Blesme, Belim, etc., including changes in the final esme, which is similar to Angoulême. In this context, the first element would be ECOL, an unknown pre-Latin element. The identification of the primitive form Engoulême, then alternating the old forms -isne and -isme, led Ernest Negre to prefer the first with -isne. The first element would be ECUL. According to him, we can neither affirm the Celticity of these two elements nor the meaning. The alteration in *Angolisme was caused by the attraction of the Germanic personal name Angelisme, whose existence was confirmed by Marie-Thérèse Morlet. Ecolisme would consist of a Gallic radical eco, meaning water, followed by the suffix -lisima, meaning relates to. Ecolisme would be well-watered. Xavier Delamare analyzed the element eco to come from Equiranda as the origin of many names in France, and considers that the element ico, was not Celtic. At the time of the French Revolution, the city was known by the transient name of Poitou-Charentes. The district of Bussat takes its name from the Low Latin buxeta, buxatum, which means place planted with boxwood, equivalent to bossé in the langue d'Oil. The district of Lumué, meaning small elm or abalone. Actually, the term is probably derived from the Low Latin ulmulum. Silac probably comes from the Low Latin Ciliacum, meaning that the village was built around the property of a Gallo-Roman named Cilius.